Pose, 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 I do adore. Pose, 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 I do adore. What is up, awesome people of the internet? Happy Tuesday, and welcome to another weekly edition of the AP Poll Rankings. Where are the teams ranked? And how many changes did we see from last week to this week? So we're going to get through that today. And we, of course, start with the number one team in the country, South Carolina. South Carolina is still undefeated. They're the lone undefeated team left, and they're still rocking and rolling. Had a great game last week against LSU. Great game against Vanderbilt, or I should say the LSU technically wasn't a great game, but they got the win. They showed some resilience. Great game against Vanderbilt, and again, they're just proving to everybody they are the bona fide number one team in the country. And it's hard to see a team taking them down. However, as we always say, any team can get got, so we don't know what will happen in the future. We have number two. For number two, we have K-State, Kansas State. This is the first time that they have been this high since 2002. So over 20 years it's been since K-State has been number two in the country. So this is a rare feat for them. But shout out to the Wildcats, because Ayoka Lee is out. You know, she's out, and she's going to be out for a little bit due to injury. And for this team, they're really showing how deep of a team they actually are. To be without their star player and to still be rocking and rolling, getting some wins. They won 15 games straight. So I mean, you know, if you won 15 games straight, you're 20-1 on the season, you're going to be number two in the country. So shout out to the Wildcats, because they're just showing people that they're pretty good. But they do have a game against Texas coming up. So and Oklahoma, I should say. So I'm very, very much interested to see how they play in those games. I think that will kind of tell us even more about K-State's season this year. For Iowa, we have them moving up 2 spots at number 3. Last week they had a good game against Nebraska. Caitlin continues to do her thing. You know, there was, if you didn't watch, I think it was the Nebraska game. There was a particular play where Molly Davis had a hockey assist from her back. It was like the funnest play I have seen in a while. That's just like, what? Y'all should watch it. It was I believe it was during the Nebraska Iowa game, and it was Molly Davis. She fell earlier in the play. The play is still going on. She's still on her back. Somehow the ball gets to her. She was smart enough to not get up with the ball, because that would have been a travel. She instead stayed on her back, passed. I think it was a bounce pass. Passed the ball, then they passed it again, and then a shot was made. So shout out to Molly Davis, Mighty Molly. We have Stanford at number 4. Makes sense. Cameron Brink and Stanford are still just doing their thing, getting some wins. I don't have any changes about that. We have NC State that moved up 2 spots. The ACC is kind of all over the place in terms of any team can win, but NC State is still getting them wins up. So they move it up to number 2. Colorado had a rough week last week, I would say. They split between, so they lost against Oregon State and they won against Oregon. So their Oregon trip wasn't the best. However, Colorado's still in good shape. They only lost 3 games so far this season. They had some big wins this season already. So yeah, while they fell 3 spots, not the worst thing in the world. But y'all, we're gonna talk about this more in a sec. But Oregon State is something serious. They are something serious, y'all. Going down further on the list, we have UCLA at number 7. They dropped down 5 spots. They were in the number 2 number 2 spot before. And the reason why I think they dropped down is yes, because of that Washington State loss. And Washington State is a good team, but they weren't that good of a team to get that win. If you did not watch this week's edition of Women's Basketball Weekly, make sure to watch that, because there is something internally going on at UCLA, and it's very, very serious. And to me, that excuses the loss, because whatever it is, it may or may not be affecting Lauren Betts, and that may or may not be why she's not with the team. But it has affected the team so much that Coach Corey Close actually was very, very emotional in the post-game presser. And it just lets me know that there's a lot going on, and they had heavy hearts while they were playing in that game against Washington State. So I don't put too much into that loss. Yes, they dropped, several spots, and they're now at number 7, but I don't put too much into it, because there's something going on that is severely affecting this team. Ohio State, we got them at number 8. Ohio State is they're just grooving. They're just grooving along. I think they're a fun team. And no one's really paying attention to Ohio State, and they're like, okay, we don't care. We gonna keep doing our thing and just moving up. For LSU, they stayed where they were at number 9. One thing to note is that the AP poll is released on Monday, I think at like noon or something like that. And so that didn't take into account LSU's loss to Mississippi State last night. If you didn't watch that stream, I did a stream after the game. It's a short stream. For me, it's a pretty short stream. It's only about 30 minutes or so. But yeah, you watch that. We talked about the game after it was over. LSU is definitely going to drop like a rock next week. For sure, they're going to drop like a rock next week because of that loss to Mississippi State. But y'all, Mississippi State, they're looking pretty good. Yabba dabba. If you watched the game yesterday, you'd get the yabba dabba, or yabba dabba doo, as Carolyn Peck wanted to say. All right, for number 10, we have Indiana. Indiana, still rocking and rolling. 17-2 on the season. They're doing very well in the Big Ten. Of course, they lost to Iowa, but for the most part, it's just Ohio State and Iowa that are like the huge Big Ten competitors for Indiana. I think Indiana is gonna do pretty well in the Big Ten tournament, and then as we go into the NCAA tournament, I'm interested to see how far Indiana makes it. At number 11, we have UConn, who dropped down 3 spots after losing to Notre Dame this past weekend. Makes sense. I don't have any issues with this. They're 17-4 on the season. And yeah, I mean, they'll of course, one thing's for sure is we can kind of count on UConn to win the Big East games that they play. But the game against Notre Dame's in the ACC. So, it's tougher competition, in my opinion, when UConn goes out of their conference to play another team. They do have a game against South Carolina coming up. I will have full coverage on that. Kind of similar to how the South Carolina versus LSU game was. So look forward to that. In terms of the other rankings, we have Texas at number 12. Texas is, continuing their skid downward on the list, but overall, Texas is still doing okay. They are without their starting point guard, and so, it's not the Texas that Vic Schaefer was hoping for at the beginning of the year, because he is down his star player. But Booker is very good for Texas, and she's still doing her thing as a freshman, I should add. These freshmen are crazy. I'm going to do a special about how special these freshmen are. Baylor, we have Baylor number 13. No issues with that. They're 16-3 on the season. Notre Dame, they only went up one spot from their game last week against UConn. They are at number 14. They are 15-4 on the season. USC at number 15 because of that loss against Washington. Yeah, Washington State, Washington, and Oregon State are like spoilers in the Pac-12. So Juju didn't have the best of games against Washington, but she'll be fine. We have Louisville at number 16. They are 18-3 on the season. Virginia Tech at number 17. They are 16-4 on the season. Oregon State at number 18, y'all. Oregon State, I feel like could be a little bit low on this list. Oregon State is a team that they were rolling last week. Rolling. They beat Utah, pretty handedly, I would say they beat them pretty handedly. And then they beat Colorado as well. So great week for Oregon State. Shout out to them for being spoiler to some of the top Pac-12 teams. But y'all better put some respect on the Beavers' names. Put some respect on them Beavers' names. They're looking pretty good. They're looking pretty good out there. We have Gonzaga at number 19. They moved down 2 spots. They are 20-2 on the season. Utah, they're 15-6 on the season at number 20. We got them ladies in orange at Syracuse at number 21. We have Creighton at number 22. West Virginia, number 23. I think West Virginia is a team that I'm still not completely sure what to think about them. But yeah, they've been playing pretty well this season, but still jury is still out in terms of like how well they'll actually do in the tournament, but they're looking pretty good right now. Especially with that win against Iowa State. Yes, Iowa State is not ranked. However, Iowa State's a good team. We have North Carolina at number 24, which is kind of surprising that they're still on the top 25 list, but it is what it is. They dropped down 4 spots from last week. They are 15-6 on the season. And shout out to them Princeton Tigers, them Ivy League women. They are at number 25. They were briefly in the AP top 25 poll earlier this season. And they're back into the top 25. They are on a 10-game winning streak, so shout out to the Tigers for that. And we'll see how they continue to go. We will see how they continue. They knocked Florida State out. Florida State was the top 20, was the number 25 pick last week. But yeah, shout out to Princeton. Shout out to Oregon State. Shout out to West Virginia. There's like some of these like teams that are sort of lower down. Are pretty fun to watch. So shout out to them. In other news, other teams that got some votes included UNLV, Washington State. It's probably because of that UCLA game, Washington State. Fairfield, Marquette, Florida State, Oklahoma, which Oklahoma's pretty good this year. Oklahoma is not an easy out at all. So shout out to them. We got Mississippi, Penn State, Washington, and Mississippi State. Yeah, Mississippi State is going to move up dramatically for next week. They may or may not make the top 25, but they're looking pretty good. They're looking pretty good, guys. This is your top 25 I don't have a ton of issues with the top 25. I will just say the Pac-12 is raring to go. There's upsets galore. We don't know what to expect. The ACC has also been kind of unpredictable as well. And I just love it. I just love it, because, I'm all about the upsets. I'm all about teams that are not supposed to win winning. And, that's the state of women's basketball that we are in. So we see lots and lots and lots of changes every week to the top 25. And that is A-okay with me, because we will see how everything all shakes out at the end of February. Because that's going to be the time that these polls really do matter. But again, South Carolina on top. There's I don't see that changing by the end of February. All these other positions on the board will likely change before the end of February, but I don't see South Carolina letting go of that top spot. But they do have that UConn game coming up. Maybe they get surprised. I doubt it, but maybe they get surprised. But anyway, that is the video, guys. Let me know what you all think about the top 25 poll. What changes would you have made to this poll? Let me know. Also, if you can please hit that like button, that would be amazing. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. We are on our road to 10,000 subscribers. And most of the people who watch my videos, I looked on the back end, most of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed at all. So if you have watched several of my videos and you appreciate the commentary, appreciate the coverage, please help me out by hitting that like button. Help me get to 10,000 subscribers, guys. Thank you all again for watching. I appreciate y'all. And until next time, guys. Bye, y'all.